Hey, Motorman here. If you're not familiar with this channel, if you just wandered here by accident, I'm a motor officer instructor, now retired. I'm the maker of the Ride Like a Pro video. That's the only video that teaches the police motor officer techniques to you, the average rider. Been doing this for like 23 years. In fact, I've been on YouTube since 2006. If you don't like this video, I've got over 1,250 other videos, most of which deal with tips, tricks, and techniques to make you ride like a pro. And by the way, here's a quick tip for you. If you're riding a Harley Davidson touring bike, if you look in your manual, it says you should have 36 pounds of air in the front tires and 40 pounds in the rear tire. But let me tell you this, if you pump that front tire up to 40 pounds, it makes low speed handling so much easier, not only because the handlebars will turn easier, but because on Harley Davidson touring motorcycles, if you've got 36 pounds of air and you turn the bars more than halfway, it feels like it wants to pull it to full lock. That scares riders and screws them all up. So pump that front tire up to 40 psi, and that technique or that feeling will not happen. You'll be able to ride much easier and get a really good handle on the techniques that much quicker. And before we get on to what we're going to do today, which is totally different, I'm going to tell you about our special. We've got the Ride Like a Pro, the book, the color version. That practice guide goes with it. We've got the Ride Like a Pro Experience, my latest video, and Surviving the Mean Streets on this USB. That's over 2.5 hours of instructions. You can get that all for $59.90. Just go to ridelikeapro.com and click on the book, and you'll see this week's special. So $59.90, normally that would cost you $67.90, so you're saving $8. That's 2 gallons of gas. Or you can call 866-868-7433 and tell them you want the special of the week. This special is going to be over $921.22. So this thing we're going to do a little bit different this week because I do a lot of work as an expert witness and people ask me about that. So I'm going to call this segment You Be the Judge. If you like this, comment below. I'll tell you about the case, and you come up with what you think should have happened or shouldn't have happened, whether the rider was right or wrong, whatever. So I'm going to tell you about this case because it's a pretty interesting one. We have a rider or a motorcyclist who's never ridden a motorcycle before. He rode a dirt bike when he was 10 years old. He's now 20 years old. He's taken no training. He has no motorcycle license. In fact, he doesn't even have a car license because his license has been suspended twice for having more than 12 points in a year. That's kind of a tough thing to do. You got to be a pretty reckless driver to get 24 points in 2 years. Anyway, he wants to buy a new Hayabusa motorcycle. If you're familiar with the Hayabusa, it's a high-powered sport bike, 194 horsepower, capable of 186 miles an hour. It'll actually go faster, but they put a governor on him. So he wants to buy one of these, but he's got no credit, and he's got no money. So at this time, that's back in 2008 or 2009, a lot of the Japanese manufacturers would subsidize the insurance because that was the biggest thing holding young people back from getting a sport bike is they couldn't afford the insurance. So the different Japanese companies would jack up the price of the motorcycle. They would get them special insurance. And even if your credit was pretty bad, you could get a loan from the company, whether it be Suzuki, Honda, etc. But this rider, since he had virtually no credit at all, and no license, but that didn't matter at the time in the state of Florida, he needs a cosigner. So his mother cosigns for him. Now, she has to know, the mother has to know that he's kind of a reckless driver. He's got no driver's license. She knows he doesn't even have a motorcycle license, but despite that, she cosigns for him, and he gets the motorcycle. 8 hours after getting the motorcycle, he's on a road that's about 2 miles straight away. There's 2 lanes going north, 2 lanes going south, and there's a divider in the middle where cars can pull out from one side or the other and cross the divider. Well, this rider takes off from the light at a high rate of speed. We know this because a witness saw them take off at a high rate of speed, heard the motor winding out, and he was in the right lane, and a truck pulls out of the parking lot, and initially his attorney says that the truck didn't stop at the stop sign, but later on a witness came forward and said yes, they saw the truck stop at the stop sign. They saw no vehicles coming when the truck pulled out, and then they heard this loud crash and the motorcycle winding out. So the rider is taken off. We estimate he was probably going about 140, maybe 150 miles per hour when he notices that the truck is crossing the road. So he releases the throttle, he jams on the rear brake. We have 3 long skid marks because he hit the rear brake, he skidded, hit it again, skidded, released, skidded again, and then strangely he had a complete, he's in the right lane, he's in the right lane and he's got the right of way, and the truck had already cleared the right lane, but just before impact, he steers right into the truck, according to a witness. The witness said that it looked like he wanted to go underneath the truck, like maybe perform some kind of stunt, because you see that so much on TV. Well, I realized that what was happening was he was panicked. He didn't know anything about counter steering. So since his lane was clear, he could have just gone straight, but he wanted to make sure he was as far away from the truck as possible. So he did what his instincts told him to do, which is turn the handlebars away from the truck. Well, it's the opposite. Remember, at a motorcycle at speed, you have to push forward on one of the grips. Well, since he turned the handlebars to the right, that caused the motorcycle to lean left and go left and smash right into the truck. He died instantly. It's a shame, but they were suing because this trucking company, I would imagine, had pretty deep pockets. They were suing for either $3 or $5 million. After I said my piece to the jury, I guess, understood what was going on, that this kid had no business being on this motorcycle, and they couldn't find any fault of the truck driver because there's no way the truck driver could recognize that most vehicles, by the way, this is a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. You could pretty much judge if a car is going 40 or 50 or 60. Well, this guy, since he's going well over 100 miles an hour, he's on a motorcycle, a very small, I mean, if you're looking at a motorcycle versus a car, that's a big difference, so it makes it that much harder to judge. But he was clear of the motorcycle's lane, but the motorcyclist steered right into him and he died at impact. So what do you think? Do you think it's the trucker's partially at fault? Was it his mother's fault for co-signing? Was it strictly the rider's fault because he had no business being actually on the road, period, because he had no license at all? I'll leave that up to you.